There's a couple of areas in which we are really well positioned to add value. And one of them, speaking of position, is our location. Because here in the Bahamas, we are in the same time zone as Miami, New York, Toronto. We are an hour or two off of Mexico City, Sao Paulo for most of the year, and only 5 hours off of the UK. And so it makes it really simple for a family and its advisors to keep track of investments, to keep track of activities, to monitor what's going on for them in real time. I think the other major advantage that we have for families and family offices is substance. One of the critical elements now in terms of tax planning, in terms of residency planning, in terms of overall structuring is substance. And in the Bahamas, it is possible for a family to set up a full-fledged substantive office. It isn't a filing cabinet, it isn't a phone line, it is an office with people in it, with the data in it that makes it substantive and a real office for purposes of all of their planning. Absolutely, the Bahamas can assist in that regard. I mean, first of all, the infrastructure in the Bahamas is outstanding. There have been, in the last 10 years, substantive investments made in terms of our airport, in terms of access to the Bahamas. The airports in New Providence and on several of the family islands have been upgraded and are really quite possibly the best in all of the Caribbean and partially in the Americas. The other thing is that there have also been significant investments made, not just in telecommunications, but also in internet access and physical premises, roads, lighting, electricity, so that actually you aren't treated, you don't feel any different than you would in any other major financial center, any other major city. We've also significantly upgraded the educational system, and we have moved from the College of the Bahamas to the University of the Bahamas so that we can facilitate the ability of families to have on-site staff who have the kind of education that these families need. As I mentioned, certainly proximity to major financial centers is one significant element, but it's not the only one. First of all, there are a lot of qualified professionals on the ground already in the Bahamas in the areas of law, accounting, investment, finance. But in addition to there being persons on the ground already, the government of the Bahamas does recognize that families do want to bring in some of their own people, some of their trusted advisors, the persons who have specific skills relative, for instance, to some of the industries that a family might be involved in. And it is possible for families to bring in persons to assist them, to get them work permits, to have their own people on the ground here as well as they themselves. We also would want to point out that it's actually a great place if you're looking for housing. I mean, it's not just for the families themselves, their trusted advisors, there's management and staff. There are all ranges of housing available in the Bahamas. We've actually spent decades now honing toolkits that really are almost perfect for modern family offices, because in the Bahamas, I mean, we do have outstanding trust legislation, so that when families want to look at intergenerational planning, there are trusts or foundations actually available to them, depending on whether they're more comfortable with the notion of establishing a trust with a trustee, or a foundation, which is more of a civil law concept. And many of our clients are actually more comfortable with foundations, and we offer that as an additional option for intergenerational planning. The other couple of options that are available to them, obviously investment funds. We have an excellent legislative structure around investment funds, which are geared not just for institutional clients, but also sometimes for the needs that families have, which can be very specific, where you have, for instance, a need to hold illiquid investments. And we recognize in our investment fund legislation that there are types of funds that maybe don't need to be audited annually, our smart funds. And so they are specifically adapted really for family needs. The other thing that we offer are executive entities, which are able to take on leadership or executive roles for the to stand in for the family in various structuring exercises. The other thing I think that makes the Bahamas especially attractive is that we do have domestically a strong independent judicial system. Because although you don't want families to fall out, you don't want to have to deal with litigation, it is helpful to know that if something were to happen, the system is in place. The other thing that we do offer, which is really important, especially to families who value their privacy, is the opportunity to arbitrate any disputes that arise under a trust. I think we've mentioned, the opportunity to have a residence here. But when people talk about residences, it's okay, well, what is available for my family? Well, we have excellent educational opportunities for families' children, both here or in easy proximity to the US and Canada, if children wanted to go to boarding school or as they're in university. There are outdoor and sporting activities galore. It's one of the major benefits to, I have to say, to living in the Bahamas. There's world-class golf. We have excellent marinas because the boating is superb. There's also a very strong social structure. Lots of restaurants, lots of clubs, some cultural offerings that are both here and also, within easy proximity, whether you wanted to go to Miami, whether you wanted to go to New York, whether you wanted to have a long weekend in London. There's stuff that's available to you here, but there's also stuff, if there's also the opportunity to go away for a weekend without having to make it into a huge trip. It can just be a hop. And that makes it really helpful too.